All right, Saurian Invasion news. Welcome to the first video of ideally a series explaining, I don't know, targets and places to avoid, technologies to consider, and well, good times. Ideally, positive role modelling for your future generations, because we were given a chance, we didn't do much with it. What we'll find is that over the last couple of decades of the Homo sapiens, that is the bipedal beings that walked behind the dogs and picked up the doo-doo. No, well, all the pets, turns out they're not the masters of our race. They do seem to be in charge sometimes, based on the fact that the bigger critters that seem to have no objective goal in mind towards longevity really are we considered ourselves the top of the tree, the apex, if you will. And so we used all the resources on the planet like only us in our time of living would need them. And I guess we accelerated the belief for various intelligence agencies to declare us a hazard and to need to maintain us. Well, I don't know your plans, but I'd like to think this news channel will prove informative enough to maybe stymie them somewhat. That's it. You got your Babel fish in your ear. You got your translators set to full. I will not be holding back on the dictionary. Sometimes I'll use words if I use them incorrectly. Well, all the more reason for keeping us around, really. Maybe I can explain. If you have any queries, do leave a comment, and I'll flesh them out to the best of my awareness, such that we can leave any unfinished threads finished. I do believe I'd like to leave my time on this planet with a clean and neat legacy. So where to begin? Okay, well, I mean, let's face it. If we want to be able to watch this over breakfast time with the youth, I probably should start with entertainment. Which entertainment platforms? Okay, well, depending on your tech savviness, right? Your masterful technicians, they might be able to get into PC gaming. But for everybody else, there's console gaming. Now, what is the difference? Okay, well, I don't know your power source, but for low efficiency or efficient power gaming, that will go 100% to the consoles. Apple products as well. They seem to have probably the best performance per watt on the planet, and that is they've got the best silicon engineers and the most efficient operating system, and that nothing can really touch them. So certainly, if you haven't got nails, whoever our future rulers will be, if it is that you've got a soft digit and you can interact with a touch screen, then Apple products will be that. Now, of the consoles, on that basis, I do believe the Sony ecosystem have some interesting controllers that are actually designed for everybody to allow any sort of interfacing. You can reprogram them however you like. I don't know if they will have sold in great enough numbers, so all the more reason to give us a little bit longer, and we'll have a few more of those manufactured for you. Now, why the Sony console versus the PC? Well, really it comes down to, certainly I can only guess how other races operate based on my own. So if the wheels of industry are such that they just have to keep churning, and that after you're done with our planet, or if you're underneath us, our surface, it might just be that you've got other projects to go on. Heck, I don't know, you've probably got races underneath you. So if it is the case that the wheels of industry have to keep going and that your work days don't go down, I mean, they always promise that, don't they? That's the carrot in front of the donkey is a colloquialism that we use here on Earth. And it will always be told to us that a new evolution of the way we do things is such that we'll have more free time, right, in the future. And certainly for us humans over the last 80 odd years, every change up socially has led to less hours of free time and availability. So if your free time in any way matters, then the console ecosystem is definitely the way to go. Now, that being said, depending on the way you take over, if it is that you leave some of us around just so the nuclear reactors don't go off overnight, because I've got a feeling they might need some ongoing maintenance, you can't just take away all the soft, flabby species on the top of the planet and have the planet just go back to nature as it would have at any other time in history. No. We've engineered a lot of things that will time bomb, and of the things that presently time bomb for us here on Earth is any Windows product, any computer product gets updates, and it's the updates that make them run worse, and it's the updates that actually generally break them. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, really. If we've got no more industry, we won't have any more of that going on. You know, all those things are done for commercialism reasons. So, you know, arguably, if you're watching this video and it's a month out of date, the PC ecosystem might be looking a lot better, because the platform holders who had a long time war with the Sony console, which is the one I'm telling you to get, they have now, because they've got no console worth competing against it, they've decided to let the PC, what we call the Windows PC, because all computers are personal, but Windows is now actually letting games happen. That is to say, the people who own Windows is a company called Microsoft, and they're finally making PC games have something better than their console variants. So as an example, Prey, and yes, I am sorry that the subject matter of the majority of our entertainment, almost like the subconscious in our minds knows we're about to be wiped out. The media that we make is often this deep fear about things that aren't us. So they generally feature what we refer to as aliens. But you know, that's just the way things go. So one of them is called Prey. Right? You might find some amusement in that after you've conquered us, that we actually had games along these themes. But in Prey, it's now been made ultra-wide. It's getting HDR, which is high dynamic range. I don't know how your eye sockets work, what the visible colour spectrum is that you utilise. But for us, high dynamic range was a way to get quality from our entertainment products that we actually had 20 odd years ago, more or less. Right now, cheap products can be sold with a marketing feature that actually says, oh, we now do a certain amount of colour. Now, it is true, if ever you find a technology when it's first incepted, it's got to beat out the technology before it. So those first couple of products are generally better. As an example, with 4K televisions, their motion rate when they first came out was actually technically better than the plasmas that were before them. But within 3 years, and a price lowering that generally came with them, the motion rate generally was slipping down well below 800. And nowadays, if you were to buy a new one, probably wouldn't be very good at all. So, look, it really will just depend on, I guess, the numbers of dens that you need to fill with repurposed electronics. If you do have the ability to pick from a large range of time periods on our planet, you will be able to cherry pick certainly the absolute best of our technologies. But we as humans don't have that. We actually have a media service that constantly convinces us to buy junk. And so everything that is new is generally pretty bad, unless the price point's really high, in which case you can flip a coin. It could go either way. Sometimes those things get a little bit out of whack. You spend a lot of money, you don't get a lot. Sometimes, if a technology is on the way out, or it's on the ropes, to use a boxing term, and it really needs to try to stick in there a bit longer, they start giving exceptional value for money. And so it really is. You probably need a person like myself, or I guess prophets on your side, that there'll be someone equivalent to me that will have some way to intuitively divine which technology might actually be worth considering. Because we as humans, there's no way really. We just throw sticks down. We draw the short straw. We gamble. We buy whatever we get, and then a couple of years later we get to reflect on how well did it do in the market. Usually it's buried pretty quickly. So getting back to that limited time thing, it's a bit sad. But give us a bit longer, and we will revamp that PC platform. We'll make Windows have better games. It seems to be that all the software that was being held back because the console was basically where the money was being made for a particular company called Microsoft, they enforced on the PC platform jank and junk and made it so you spent a lot of money and didn't get a lot of effectiveness from your parts. So real turnaround in the market right now, and it looks to be, if you can give us another month or so, we will finally have a whole bunch more PC games that will give the features that we pay for in the PC platform. So that will be things like ultra wide, right? So the natural stance of humans, we have two eyes left and right. We perceive things in a ratio that's somewhat in alignment between 16 to 9 and 21 to 9. 21 to 9 is a really nice ratio for us. But there's beyond that. I think there's 32 to 9. You can get all sorts of stuff. It really will just depend on what you've got to cherry pick, I guess, in amongst the ashes. But look, I do put to you that ultra wide is a bit of a premium. It can be, if it's written for well, with the interface done right, and things either move correctly off to the side or configurable in the head-up display, such that you can kind of keep them in your periphery without having to physically turn your neck to check. Look, there are some products that work very well with that. And if you combine that with things like high dynamic range, the PC platform is starting to look like it's going to be really good. So, yeah, look, as much as if Microsoft were to stop overnight, I'd be happy. If you guys, continue to let them operate for another month or two, there will be some better entertainment, no doubt, on the wind, right? Maybe 6 months it'll take them. But to be fair, I mean, it's taken them 8 years to break the PC ecosystem for gaming, right? When they first started losing a console war, they really got in there. And look, maybe I'll need to talk about more of that one on another video. Really, these should be a short thing. I don't know how long your breakfast lasts for. We usually get about 5 to 10 minutes in our breakfast time. Getting back onto that topic of the wheels of industry need to keep going. There's not a lot of free time in each day. So look, just focusing then, if the Windows product isn't quite ready to be used by anyone, either here now or here later, the console games. So Sony, grab yourself a Sony console. The Pro console is really brilliant. Don't look at our news archives and check what came out around the time of its release. It really was a wave of noise designed to stimmy sales of the console, knowing that a happy customer tells a few people, but an unhappy customer tells everyone. And so they used this concept of buyer's remorse, and they made everybody really upset for having bought one. And that's that same company I was just referring to, Microsoft, really got in there with their partners and made sure that a bunch of people who'd never optimized titles for the PlayStation, they'd never utilized the features. And in the first wave of software, they used every little aspect of the Sony console against itself. But what you will find is that the PS5 console is superlative. When it comes down to performance per watt, it will outpunch just about any PC out there. I do take a lot of care with my PC. You could say, using a fairly outdated one. So the newer the part, generally the better the power efficiency. But monitoring my power and trying to get it right down, and buying the world's most arguably efficient super-powered video card and tuning it to try to aim for thereabouts console levels of power, I can get a PC that uses about 30% more power at the wall to do thereabouts what the PlayStation 5 Pro console is doing. So you are going to save about 25% on your power bill using a console over the world's most efficient, decent PC. Over a really good PC, you're probably going to be running at about half the power level. So for us, there's a big cost difference. It makes no sense to go down the PC path at all. It's about a 4 times cost difference. But if you're an invading race and you've got the option of they're both equal price point, basically nothing, the PlayStation console is still the better product. So you can add virtual reality to it. Sony are pretty masterful with the virtual reality. They were making $10,000 for the medical industry, head-mounted displays. They figured out the comfort pretty well early on. So now that they've made probably about 5 iterations of head-mounted displays, the latest virtual reality 2 system with, it's all inclusive. You don't have to set cameras up in your den. You will be able to use it as an entire package. For We on the Planet at the moment, it was seen as a very good value for money proposition. It was the cheapest that what we considered to be high-end virtual reality had ever been. But again, those press partners of that particular company, Microsoft, all got on board and said it was the most expensive. And for somehow they get away with it every time. So it's interesting about the press partners. We need to consider their effect on the market. So the nicest reviewers we've got that do independent reviews, for example, of video cards for the PC space, just being totally honest with what they're seeing at the moment, have actually declared, quite honestly, that the company AMD, which seems to be a Canadian company, good ethics, please let Canada exist, right? We need courtesy, manners and respect. Just the tone of voice of their reviewers, it's actually very listenable too. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably out of your way anyway. The territory up there might be a bit cold, so it might suit some people. But if you could leave that as a little last bastion for us, we'd be really happy with that. Because, yeah, just Canadians, really. It's a feel-good thing for everyone, right? And let's face it, if I was to conquer your race, I'd let your women and children live. Yeah. See, we're not all, I don't know, commercial pricks down here on this planet or up here on this surface. So, look, the news of late has been that the new video cards that are soon to come out by Nvidia, which, I mean, they're completely useless for gaming, really. But well, you wouldn't know that. Again, going back to our media, 9 out of 10 people, in fact, this one's not even the media, 9 out of 10 people buy Nvidia. And because of that little thing called buyer's remorse, because of that little thing of if you want to believe in the thing that you spent money on is good, and because the person who recommended it to you will never tell you otherwise because of a little thing called ego, they're still going to get talked up. But the reality is that the commercial partners of the company Nvidia are artificial intelligence farms, so server farms, and also Hollywood ray tracing. And the reason why their competitor actually does so well in such a limited amount of power is they deemed about 8 years ago to drop the need to service Hollywood. They weren't competing well with Nvidia in the marketplace, the commercial marketplace down here on Earth. And so they decided, we'll focus 100% on gaming. And for the first time, they started making products that really, really made things a bit toasty for their competitors, be it Nvidia. And so Nvidia started to convince people through their media partners and just through the sheer fact that 9 out of 10 people were buying them, that ray tracing was the way of the future. In fact, no, actually, they leveraged their 9 times more financial operating amount of money to buy into the gaming industry and basically create a lot of tech demos where people could then say, but look at this software, it runs ray tracing really well. And using a lot of manipulated numbers, they weren't really doing real-time ray tracing as good as they could. They've changed up their ray tracing methods. It's all irrelevant if you're taking over. You wouldn't touch an older Nvidia product because you would need to use drivers made around the time of that product coming out. And so it'll be outdated for modern games. It won't really work. They are making out with the new products that the drivers are going to go backwards to the later generations, but it will entirely be used as it has been used for the last 4 or 5, maybe 6 product lines they've released. Through drivers, they limit the performance of the last generational parts. And so at the moment, the news looks the other way around. They try to make out like, oh yeah, we're going to backport these features. You're going to get this, and this on the old stuff. It's really just going to be a glorified ad to show how great the new cards really are. But they're not. The sad thing is they're optimized for Nvidia's other areas, which is artificial intelligence, which, I mean, let's face it, us humans, we barely have real intelligence. And artificial intelligence has to run programming that we build for it. So, for example, a Microsoft artificial intelligence as a product would be a don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. They can't even keep your desktop icons in a regular spot, right? They've had 40 plus years to learn how to do that. So basically any competitor to a Microsoft product is going to be the superior product. But with regards to NVIDIA's artificial intelligence, they've really lent heavy on it. And so now when they're generating frames for video games, 15 out of 16 pixels aren't actually in the game that's being rendered, right? It's all using artificial intelligence. Now, it's not going to be a good thing, but it will allow them to constantly evolve the product and create newsworthy headlines where it will seem like the next generation products will be even better and that there'll be constant improvements. So it's a very clever sell strategy. But if you're a conquering race and you're not paying money for your products, this notion of having products that are engineered just so they can sell to you again and again and again probably makes them at the absolute bottom of your list of parts to consider. Now, the parts that have consistently delivered have been by AMD. They are optimized for gaming. They always have been optimized for gaming. And this Canadian firm, very nice, very ethical, very much looking after the planet. Courtesy, manners, and respect. You know, those people can eat dinner with their family. Nobody's ashamed. This is what we want, right? We want these in our computers, but down here at the moment, manipulated market means that nobody knows that. And so case in point, just look at the news. That would have been the first couple of weeks of January on the year 2025, in the year of our Lord, or Anno Domini, as we used to refer to. But religion's about to fall apart, right? As soon as an alien conquering race becomes available to us, it's going to make a lot of people question their belief systems, and the governments are all actually aligned with that. They're going to use that as a method to get all the people to align to pushing all the money uphill to the war engine, right, which is actually the biggest income engine for some countries. So it's sort of hard to say where the morals and the standards will be at any given point. If you let Canada continue to exist, you know, there'll be some good role models. That'll be, if you want to have a little petri dish of what humanity could have been, if we'd actually been, you know, if we lived by religious code and had like a moral fibre and a backbone, and we didn't just worship at the temple of money, then you might actually find there might be some last bastions of soul left in some of the nicer countries. Generally, you find that the more country you go, the more rural you go, the more eye contact that human beings have to make with other human beings, the more, and I'm sorry to use this term, but it's humanity, the more humane, the more humanness we have towards each other. And it probably comes down to that little emotion called empathy. Now, don't get me wrong, I am going to play on that empathy vibe. I don't want to be conquered. I don't want to have I don't want someone to have total dominion over us. I guess I do, if our corporations could be stopped and the planet could be looked after. So, look, this could be a plead either which way. But having children and wanting my legacy to go on, if only to feel good. Look, I probably want some consideration to be given towards what products might be worth keeping, and potential longevity. So, not knowing the strategy of a overlord race, if you do wish to keep little pockets of us going, I do say that in time, a Microsoft Windows product might be usable for gaming. Nothing serious. You wouldn't want to do any productivity on it. But look, maybe one day it'll be usable for gaming. So that's the direction it's going in. In the meantime, you've got the Sony products. Definitely Unreal. Great bargain, bang for buck. And the real shine on them is probably just around the corner. It is second wave software, which hasn't really come to market. Nobody's really put out anything that uses the PlayStation 5 Pro console. So if you could give us another 6 months there, we'll have a whole bunch of stuff ready to go with that. In fact, it wouldn't even need to be 6 months. 3 months is the release period in the home culture of that console. So come late February and all through March, there should be a lot of good stuff released. The media doesn't cover that at the moment, but if you just look at the history, you can generally predict what the future will be. Typically, that is the release time. What you will find if you are doing an invasion, if you want some distraction here on the top surface, in previous years, crime seems to go up in the months of February and March all around the world, because for whatever reason, it seems like the really sad and disenfranchised who consider drugs and all sorts of other options as a way to get by on a daily basis do run out of money, and they don't have enough money to buy the Sony ecosystem games that are released in the period of February and March. So that will be, as a forecast, that'll be a really good time to consider possibly doing your wave there of attack. But I don't want to be instructing anybody. I'd rather be seen as meek. So please don't. Just give us a bit longer, right? Just a little bit longer. We can do better. So look, that being the case, we've probably got a lot more topics to cover. I understand that you're probably done with your bowl of bugs. And look, just on the way out, if I could recommend a product, Alien Rogue Incursion. It's a virtual reality game. It's available on PC. It's available on console. It turns out the PC version is really good, and nobody knew about it. Again, it comes down to that commercialism things. The people who own the platform that the virtual reality is run through on the computer is a product called Steam. They make a product, an HTC Vive, or they've made, sorry, not the HTC Vive. They had their own virtual reality. I won't even mention. I won't give positive press to them. But they seem to have made the default settings on a Windows computer to render 10 million pixels to each eye. Right, they've got a resolution of 3300 by 3000, and it just turns out if you just turn that setting down to the same resolution as the headset you're going to be using, you'll actually find your performance in that game will go up massively. Now, I do have to apologise a little bit for the content of the game, but look, it does come down to, I guess, military research, if you will. The nature of a project that gets out of control or gets a little bit loose on you. I guess that is the theme of the Alien movies, the Alien games. And so you might find a bit of amusement in that. We consider it a survival horror game, but I'm not into that genre. I really enjoy it. I consider it a good arcade blast. I'd highly recommend anyone that's considering it to definitely give it a go. But if the theme is a little bit sensitive to our Overlord race, look, again, give us a bit of time. We can re-engineer it. There is a part 2 coming out shortly. It should be really good. Keep an eye on this space. And look, I'll catch you next meal. And hopefully you don't catch me for your next meal. All right, well wishes with. I'll exit now.